Atlas, the fragment that shouldn't exist. That's what astronomers called it quietly, almost reluctantly, because the moment they tracked its path, they realized something unsettling. It wasn't from here. Not from our solar system, not from our neighborhood in the galaxy, not from anywhere we understand. It arrived slicing through the darkness like a splinter torn from something unimaginably distant, and then, just as suddenly, it was gone. But here's the part no one is talking about. This wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. Over the past few years, objects from outside of our solar system, true interstellar visitors, have begun appearing with increasing frequency. ʻOumuamua in 2017, Borisov in 2019, and Atlas in 2024. Each one stranger, each one harder to explain, and each one bending the rules of physics just enough to make scientists nervous. The Atlas was different. It flickered. It fragmented. Its brightness shifted in ways no natural object should, and its trajectory, its strange, silent arc through our system, hinted at a force acting on it that had nothing to do with gravity. No outgassing, no heat signatures, no dust, nothing. Just a cold, green glowing shard from deep space, behaving like a message that didn't finish downloading. And the timing? Well, that's the part that keeps astronomers awake at night, because ancient cultures watched the sky for a reason. They believed the heavens spoke, warning of changes, upheavals, or turning points in history. They called them wandering stars, omens, heralds. Today we call them interstellar objects. The effect is the same. A visitor enters our sky from a place we cannot see and raises questions we are not prepared to answer because of something is throwing fragments into our solar system. If something broke out there, or if someone sent something, then the story of Atlas is only the beginning. And the silence from the scientific world, that might be the loudest warning of all. I'm J-Rod, and this is Hollow Light, where the veil is thin, the stories begin. The visitors before Atlas. Before Atlas shrieked through our system like a fragment fleeing from some distant catastrophe, astronomers believed interstellar visitors were rare. So rare, in fact, that many doubted we'd ever see one in our lifetime. For centuries, wandering stars were a thing of myth in old world astronomy, something you found in ancient texts or carved into stone calendars. The idea that objects from other star systems might slip into ours, well, that was fringe science, improbable, and almost impossible. And then in 2017, reality changed. ʻOumuamua appeared, silent, fast, and unlike anything astronomers had ever tracked. It didn't behave like a comet. It didn't behave like an asteroid. It accelerated slightly without outgassing, without producing heat or visible debris. Its shape was elongated, possibly cigar-like, possibly flat and wafer-thin. Scientists still can't agree. But whatever it was, it broke the rules. 2 years later, in 2019, another visitor entered our skies, Borisov. This one looked more like a comet, at least visually, but even Borisov showed signs of being chemically different from anything in our solar system. Its speed, its brightness, its patterns, its composition, all subtly off. And now astronomers had a problem. because suddenly interstellar objects weren't mythological anymore. They were real, and they were arriving faster. ʻOumuamua in 2017, Borisov in 2019, and Atlas in 2024. A pattern started forming, a pattern no one wanted to acknowledge. You see, for most of human history, cultures believed that signs in the sky carried meaning. The Babylonians tracked omens in the heavens. The Maya built entire calendars around celestial cycles. The Hebrews spoke of wandering stars, beings that moved outside the ordained order. Even early Christians interpreted unusual lights or objects as warnings, signs of coming change. Today, we don't speak in the language of omens. We speak in the language of orbital trajectories, chemical signatures, and reflected magnitudes. Our telescopes replaced our prophets, and our data replaces our intuition. But the effect is the same. Something appeared in the sky that shouldn't be there, and now it's happening more often. Scientists expected one interstellar visitor every few 100,000 years. We've had 3 in 7. Some astronomers quietly admit that something is wrong with those numbers, that either our models are broken or something else is at work. Are we passing through a region of the galaxy where debris is more common? Did something shatter in outer space, sending fragments drifting towards us? Or are these objects being sent? No one knows, or maybe no one is willing to say. But what we do know is this: Atlas doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a new chapter, one written across the night sky, and objects that do not behave the way that they should. And the sky has only just begun to speak. The theory no one wants to touch. Astronomers love certainty, numbers, trajectories, and predictable patterns. Space is supposed to behave like space, but Atlas didn't. And that's why this object is so different from a typical comet or asteroid. Almost every scientist who has spoken about it publicly does so with measured caution, because the leading theories all carry implications no one wants to admit out loud. So let's break down what Atlas might actually be. The first theory, and this is the safest one, is that Atlas is a fragile, icy interstellar comet, one that simply fell apart as it neared our sun. It sounds simple, but it doesn't fit the data. Normal comets break apart when heated. Atlas fragmented while still cold, far from our sun, long before temperature could destabilize it. Its pieces didn't behave like debris. Their brightness fluctuated irregularly. Some fragments moved against expected gravitational drift, as if something inside the object was influencing its motion. So that brings us to theory 2. Atlas was once part of a larger interstellar body, something ancient that shattered long before reaching us. A world broken, a moon cracked, a megastructure torn apart. If you zoom out, this theory, it does have weight. Interstellar space is full of violence, collisions, tidal forces, and supernova shockwaves. A fragment drifting into our solar system isn't impossible. But here's the problem with that. Fragments don't accelerate on their own. They don't pulse with shifting luminosity. They don't hold together longer than physics would allow. And they don't match the internal brightness patterns that Atlas displayed. The third theory is where things get uncomfortable. Atlas wasn't a natural object at all, or at least not entirely. Some scientists have floated the idea quietly, usually off the record, that Atlas might be artificial. It's not a spacecraft or an alien probe, but something more subtle. A fragment of interstellar debris once shaped by intelligence. Like a piece of technology you'd find in the ocean after a shipwreck. It's not the whole vessel, just a clue that something bigger once existed. The way Atlas flickered, the way it held together, the way it moved suggests structure. Not smooth and not sleek, just structured. And that leads us to the final theory, the one no one will touch publicly. Atlas was an interstellar message, or at the very least, a byproduct of a process we do not understand. Because here's the truth. Objects like ʻOumuamua didn't behave normally, Borisov didn't behave normally, and Atlas didn't behave normally. 3 visitors, 3 anomalies, 3 moments where the sky broke its pattern. And patterns matter, especially when that pattern is accelerating, especially when each object arrives faster than the last, and especially when each one grows stranger. If something shattered out there, something massive, why are the fragments only reaching us now? And if they weren't shattered, if they were sent, then the question isn't what is Atlas? The question is who or what sent the first piece, and how close are the next ones? Because if these visitors are increasing, it means whatever is happening out there in the dark, it's getting closer. Voices from the Observatory. When it comes to interstellar visitors like Atlas, we don't have campfire stories or grainy creature photos. Our witnesses are astronomers, people trained to remain calm in the face of the unknown, people who speak in numbers and not fear. But when Atlas passed through our system, their reactions were unusual. One astronomer from the University of Hawaii, speaking anonymously, described the moment Atlas was first spotted.
It didn't match anything in our catalog, not even remotely. The brightness curve made no sense. We thought the data was corrupted.
Corrupted data? Except 3 different observatories saw the same thing. The Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii reported that Atlas flickered in brightness in ways that suggest either a tumbling, uneven shape, an internal reflection pattern unlike any comet they'd ever seen, or something broken into pieces that acted independently. None of those explanations fit cleanly. Then came the odd testimony from Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory in Chile. The astronomers there noticed something stranger. Atlas didn't fade the way a fragmenting object should. It dimmed, and then it brightened, and then it dimmed again, as if parts of it were reflecting sunlight at different times, but independently. One astronomer described it as like watching several objects pretending to be one. Pretending. That's not language scientists like to use. Meanwhile, a team in Spain claimed that in the earliest images, Atlas appeared to have a faint green hue. That's not unusual by itself, but the signature didn't match normal cyanogen emissions from comets. It was off, alien in the purest sense of the word. And here's the strangest testimony of all. A researcher in Canada released a short paper suggesting that Atlas might have been passed through some kind of shockwave before entering our system, because this fragment showed signs of violent disruption, but without the thermal signature you'd expect from impacts or heating. He wrote,
"Something had broke this object long before it arrived. Something powerful."
That paper disappeared within a week. no retraction, no scandal, just gone. Another astronomer, and this one studying archival data from ʻOumuamua and Borisov, noticed an unsettling pattern. Each interstellar visitor showed anomalous acceleration, not enough to scream alien, but enough to say these objects are responding to forces we do not understand. When journalists pressed for details, most scientists clammed up. A few gave cautious answers, but one, a veteran researcher from the European Space Agency, said something that caught everyone off guard.
If we're honest, we don't know what these things are, and the pace at which they're arriving should concern us.
That statement was quickly walked back. Press releases softened the language, and then explanations became vague. But astronomers are not good liars. Not when the sky they study starts behaving in ways that make no sense. The truth is buried in their reactions, the hesitation, the careful wording, the quiet frustration behind official statements, the discomfort when discussing interstellar visitors. One astronomer put it bluntly in an off-record conversation.
We're seeing things we weren't prepared to see this soon. There's a pattern, but we haven't found it yet. Or maybe we have, and nobody wants to say it out loud.
And that's the closest we'll ever get to a confession, because the people who watch the sky for a living are beginning to sound afraid of what's in it. An atlas? It wasn't the first thing to make them nervous. It was just the one that they couldn't explain away. The explanations that don't explain. Whenever something strange enters our sky, whether it drifts, flickers, or behaves in ways no model predicts, scientists have a responsibility to attempt a rational explanation. And skeptics, they're even faster. They rush to the stage with charts, equations, and the same familiar line. This is completely normal. So let's walk through the explanations offered for Atlas and why none of them hold up. The first skeptic claim is simple. Atlas was just a fragile interstellar comet that broke apart. That sounds comforting until you look at the timeline. Atlas fragmented far too early, long before solar heating could destabilize it. It broke apart while cold. Its pieces moved irregularly, and the brightness changes didn't follow the predictable fading of debris. In other words, this explanation explains nothing. The second skeptical theory claims that the brightness flickering was just tumbling, like a shard tumbling through space. Except the pattern wasn't random. It was rhythmic. And at one point, different fragments brightened at different times, something a simple tumble cannot produce. It's like someone saying a lighthouse beam is flickering because the wind shook the tower. Sure, that might work for a gust, but it doesn't work for a perfect repeating interval. Then here's the third explanation: measurement error. Astronomers hate this excuse because it suggests that their instruments or their competence failed. It's usually the last refuge for someone who doesn't have a real answer. But multiple observatories using different instruments on different continents observed the same anomalies. If it was an error, it was a global one, and global errors don't happen quietly. The fourth skeptical explanation tries to rope Atlas into the same category as ʻOumuamua. It accelerated because of outgassing. Except Atlas didn't show the gas signatures that such a claim requires. No jets, no coma, no dust. Nothing you'd expect from a natural comet under stress. So the skeptics try their final defense. We don't have enough data. It's not mysterious. It's just incomplete. The classic, it's only weird because we don't understand it yet. But that's the point, isn't it? We don't understand it, and pretending that lack of understanding equals a mundane explanation is just another kind of faith. A faith in randomness, a faith in coincidence, and a faith in silence. Even Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, the one who wrote entire papers on ʻOumuamua, said that
dismissing anomalies just because they're uncomfortable is the exact opposite of science.
But skeptics aren't fighting data. They're fighting implications. Because if you admit that Atlas behaves strangely, you have to consider the possibility that something out there is breaking the patterns we expect. If you admit the pattern of increasing interstellar visitors, you have to ask why it's accelerating. If you admit the fragments acted independently, you have to wonder what force directed them. And if you admit you don't know the what, you risk confronting the who. That's the line skeptics won't cross. So their explanations become shields, not answers. But here's the truth, the simplest truth in all of this. If the natural explanations worked, we wouldn't be making this episode. Something is happening in our sky, something unprecedented, something accelerating, and skeptics can't stop it by refusing to look up. Light the lantern. When you step back and look at Atlas, its strange flickering, its impossible fragmentation, its path through our system, it's tempting to focus only on the science, the data, the models, and the numbers. But sometimes meaning isn't found in the measurements, it's found in the patterns. 3 interstellar visitors in 7 years, all behaving differently, all bending physics, all slipping into our skies silently without warning. For most of human history, people believed the heavens were a canvas of signs. Every comet, every strange light, every wandering star meant something. Not because ancient people were superstitious, but because they paid attention. Today we have better tools, but sometimes we have worse awareness. Interstellar objects weren't supposed to arrive this often. They weren't supposed to behave this strangely, and they weren't supposed to raise questions nobody seems ready to talk about. But maybe the question isn't, what is Atlas? Maybe the real question is, why now? Why, in a time when the world rings louder, more chaotic, more divided, are silent visitors slipping in from the darkness between the stars? Is it coincidence? Is it cosmic chance? Or is the universe reminding us how small and how watched we truly are? I won't pretend to know the answer, but I do know this. Patterns matter. Timing matters. And the sky has always had a way of speaking, even if people stop listening. Maybe these interstellar fragments are warnings. Maybe they're remnants of something ancient. Or maybe they're just the whispers we're too distracted to hear. But no matter what you believe, one thing is certain. The heavens are moving. The visitors are increasing, and the silence around them is growing louder. If you have a story, a sighting, an experience, a moment when the sky felt like it was watching you, send it in. You might hear it on a future episode. And if you made it this far, drop wandering stars in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe for more tales from the veil. God bless, stay prayed up, and remember, some lights are meant to guide you home while others are warnings.